chill.
Hello there, gang, and welcome to another episode of Displaying Model Behaviour, the Earth's mightiest action figure video podcast. So take off your pants, crack a beer, and let's talk toys and comics, because it is another episode of As Told by Toys, where I'm going to talk you through the day that Carnage jumped the shark. Honestly, in my opinion, I think this might be genuinely and hilariously the worst Carnage story ever written, or at least a perfect time capsule of the worst of the 90s kind of tropes, excesses, and nonsense. This is the Amazing Spider-Man annual from 1994, and it is a very rare or little known epilogue to Maximum Carnage, and that in itself is a story of excess and bloat, basically, and too much of a good thing, because it's essentially 14 or 15 issues of just fight. It's like Marvel said, hey, you like those 3 issues of Carnage? Well, how about we just do that 5 times back to back? So it was a little bit much, but also as a moment in time, it's still iconic and fondly remembered in a nostalgic way. But I heard that there was a follow-up, an epilogue to it, this Amazing Spider-Man annual, in which Carnage escapes and Spider-Man has to capture him before he can murder his best friend or something. I was like, what is this story? And before the days of Marvel Unlimited, you had to literally go around like some sort of caveman to comic book shops and flick through the back issue bins to try and find it. And I could not find it for love nor money. And then we got Marvel Unlimited, and it wasn't on there. And I'm like, oh, come on, I want to find what this story is, because it sounds interesting and weird, and I am a big mark for Carnage, so I wanted to finally see it. And then at long last, Marvel Unlimited put it up there, and I read it, and oh boy, what a ridiculous ride it is. So folks, sit down, relax, put your feet up, crack a beer, and enjoy the Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 28, Carnage is Back. So the comic book itself starts off quite encouragingly with a decent enough, what I would call a workman-like cover. It's just Spider-Man fighting Carnage, but it's sort of a 3/4 shot of the two of them, and it's not overly dynamic, but it's adequate. But don't worry, because adequate might be about as high as we go, because a lot of this is then downhill. I will give credit, though, to the penciler, Stephen Butler, who does a great job of presenting a cartoony comic book kind of look that's also dark and serious enough that you can really get into it. It's that kind of combination that I think Mark Bagley was so good at. Great way to walk the line with that. And the opening splash page of Cletus Cassidy all trussed up in this huge, big electronic harness to keep him contained, that looks really cool, very nightmarish. So, having been defeated and captured at the end of Maximum Carnage, Cletus Cassidy is being restrained and contained by the Vault, or by the government. Either way, they've got Vault guardsmen there, who are just the putty patrol of superhero guards, let's face it. They can't stand up to much. But it's fine, it's alright, because Carnage is all restrained, and they do make a point of saying, we've got this classic corporate douchebag guy who's got like, hey there, Cletus Cassidy, kinda sucks to be you, doesn't it? How does it feel, Cassidy, to be as helpless as one of your poor, pitiful victims?
Conrad, please, don't make him angry.
So what? Look at him, Sarah. You just know that this guy is setting himself up to be eviscerated in the next panel, and yep, it takes about that long. We get the wonderful expository dialogue of like, oh, don't worry, Cletus Cassidy is harmless. We all know that Carnage is in his blood, and if he can't bleed, then the Carnage symbiote can't get out. And look at him, he's all trussed up like that, he can't even bite his tongue. That is the worst restraint idea ever. Like, what if he gets a nosebleed? Also, so the symbiote can only live in his blood. It can't get out any other way. It can't go through his ear or in his saliva. No, it has to be his blood. But yeah, what, Mike, have you seen? You should see the amount of blood when I floss my teeth. Alright, like, human beings actually bleed really easily, but they're like, nope, can't possibly make himself bleed. Come on. And Cletus proves how stupid that is when he literally just like bites like his lip or whatever, and we get a little bit of blood, and lo and behold, Carnage comes out. And honestly, I feel zero sympathy for you idiots. Why not have him in a sealed container? So even if Carnage does get out, he can't go anywhere. But no, we're going to put him in an easily escapable trap and assume that everything is fine. What? So Carnage escapes with ease, and we can now begin the Carnage kill count, because believe me, it skyrockets fast. First of all, the 2 useless Vault Guardsmen. Bam! You're dead. Thanks for coming. Then we don't actually know what happens to the lady doctor, but he has her in his grips and her eyes are rolling back, so that's not a good look. But he does actually get rid of her because he wants to turn his attention to the corporate douchebag with the glasses. Yeah, you knew this was coming. Oh wait, but first there's a 3rd useless Vault Guardsman, and he tries to at least get a shot off, which does nothing. I would be so mad if I was that dude. It's like, you gave me a gun that literally does nothing? Thanks! So Carnage sends him through a window, so I'm going to put that down as a kill as well. So we're on 3 Carnage murders in the space of a page, and we're just warming up.
Now, smart guy, what was that y'all was saying about being all torn up?
Mother...
Ooh, he mashes good.
4. Actually, I think it's very safe to assume the lady scientist is dead too, so 5. So Carnage easily bursts out of the armored transport that he's in. What, are these things made of paper? Like, what? I really hope they get their money back for all of their equipment. So yes, Carnage bursts out onto the scene, is about to murder some more people, but luckily there is an intervention from your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and more of his expository dialogue. So in the midst of this wild, blood-raged frenzy, Carnage is kind enough to stand still while Spider-Man says,
I heard through contacts at the Daily Bugle Cletus Cassidy was being transferred from the vault, and after the horrors you committed in Manhattan, I figured I should tag along to make sure you didn't escape. That's why I asked the Avengers to loan me this thermo cannon. In case you were wondering where the thermo cannon I'm carrying came from, because otherwise it just kind of came out of nowhere.
I can imagine Carnage having like a Truman Show moment where he's just standing there saying, Who are you talking to? Surely Spider-Man would just shoot him. It's like, hey Carnage, I'm here. Let me just tell you why I'm here and what I'm doing with this and get everyone up to speed. And it was pretty pointless Spider-Man even having the gun with which to introduce, because it's instantly destroyed by Carnage, with Spider-Man being the typical sort of useless superhero, where he's like, well, I should just shoot Carnage, and Carnage is like, well, you could shoot me, but if you do, I'm gonna threaten to kill these people behind me, so, you know, you don't want me to do that? And Spider-Man's like, wait a minute, I don't want to do that. Psych! Carnage destroys the gun, it's like, oh, I should have shot him when I had the chance. And then guess what? Carnage kills the 2 people anyway! Who would have thought? You just can't trust these psychotic alien serial killers. It's, what kind of a world are we living in? So that's 7 now. So 7 murders, Spider-Man completely ineffective. Like, what are we even doing here? But then, like, I'm willing to forgive that, of just like, you know, it's fun, ridiculous comic storytelling. Of course the evil bad guy's gonna murder a bunch of people. But then Spider-Man's reaction to the serial killer named Carnage killing people is, you killed them! Like, oh, let me clutch my pearls. Oh, mercy me, I can't believe you killed them. The serial killer who kills people, who's literally just had a 15-issue series about murdering people. He killed someone. I was not expecting this. But don't worry, it gets better. In his shock that Carnage murdered someone, Spider-Man picks up a giant rock and smashes Cletus Cassidy with it.
Help! I'm all broken inside. Not gonna make it.
Are you ready for this? Y'all ready for this? Peter Parker is grief and remorse stricken that he might have hurt the psychotic mass murderer Cletus Cassidy, who just butchered a whole bunch of people in front of him. Spider-Man's reaction to possibly injuring him is, oh Lord, I didn't mean to. But Spider-Man, come on! It's like, I know you try not to kill people, but this dude is literally murdering people around you. Oh my god, I never meant to hurt you, I'm so sorry.
Jeez, Webster, how many times I gotta con you before you wise up?
Yeah, seriously, I'm kind of with Carnage on this one. So Carnage uses Spider-Man's stupidity to take the opportunity to launch out a symbiote tendril that then pierces a gasoline truck that's coming towards them. So obviously that's 1 more driver, so that's 8 people dead now in Carnage's little rampage. The gasoline truck explodes, knocking Spider-Man down, and then allows Carnage to make his getaway in a stolen police car. Like, you're a symbiote. It's so weird jumping into a car like, and now time to make my getaway. Is this a stick shift?
Hang on, wait, I haven't done this for a while.
The whole point is that you can swing and jump, and like that's the fastest mode of transportation.
No, hang on, let me just get in the car here. No, right. Yep, mirror, signal, maneuver. There we go.
It's just a symbiote driving a car. Any superhuman character getting into a car for a getaway is just weird. So instead of chasing after Carnage, Peter stays with the injured people to call an ambulance and get help for them, which, okay, I'll allow it, I guess, but still, like, the couple of people here that you might be saving, Carnage is definitely going to go off and murder a whole bunch of more people. So just know that you are making a transaction here, Spidey. But still, he fires off a spider tracer, so you can find him later. Hopefully he won't murder too many people in the interim. So we go over now to a lumber yard and we meet Billy Bentine, who is the manager, owner, proprietor, if you will, of this lumber yard. And they're closing up for the day. The secretary says goodbye, see you later. And he's like, if only she knew that I've done some terrible shady things. It seems like this lumber yard, the lumber business ain't what it used to be. And this guy is going out of business and it seems like he's doing some dodgy deals to try and save himself. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do in this world. But also his time is pretty limited, it would seem, because joining him this evening is Carnage.
What? That costume? I recognize it from the newspapers. It's you, isn't it? Cleet?
Been keeping up on my career, Billy. I know about you too. They let us watch TV in prison.
Oh, that's good, because I was about to wonder how you managed to find me and what you're doing here, but thank you for answering my question that I didn't actually ask, but it does clear up how you know that I work here at this lumber yard.
You're a bigwig with this lumber company. Helped develop some kind of radical wood extender. Gooped the mixes with wood chips to make building materials double the use of trees. Supposed to be an environmental milestone. Golly, too bad you won't be alive to see all the good it'll do, ain't it?
Thank you for the exposition. We then see SpiderMan has traced his spider tracer to the police car, but Carnage got out of the car at some point. Dang it! I knew there was a problem with that plan. Carnage wasn't just going to drive the car somewhere and then just sit and wait for Spider-Man to find him. Again, you just can't trust serial killers.
What now, Cleet? I mean, why come after someone you know? I read all about that unpleasantness in New York.
Unpleasantness. That's an understatement.
I thought your goal was random slaughter, bringing a message about chaos and the ultimate freedom.
It's interesting how Carnage's kind of motivations have actually changed and evolved over the years and over the stories. Because initially it seemed that was the whole thing about Carnage, was that his philosophy, motivation was just to cause chaos, because chaos is the ultimate expression of freedom. And then they delved into the character and the psyche a bit more, and it got more interesting. It basically became that Carnage, or Cletus Cassidy, was terrified of death. He was terrified of dying. So he basically tried to kill as many people as he could to satiate death and satisfy the karmic scales, so that eventually he'd be able to say, look, you can't take me, because look at how many people I've given to you already. And I kind of dig that. It makes sense to justify the mindless slaughter, but really it depends on who's writing him. He can be as deep or as shallow as you really want to be. But this time, I gotta say, the motivation is kind of interesting. I kind of like it as a twist, because he's still in his chaos is the ultimate form of freedom. I thrive on being unpredictable. So that's why he's come specifically to kill his best friend from childhood, because it's the most unexpected thing he could possibly do. Rather than just killing random people, he's actually gonna go and kill the one person who was actually nice to him and he considered a friend, because that is pretty chaotic.
That's the pretty part. I'm gonna kill you, Billy boy, 'cause we're friends.
So we have a little flashback to Cletus in summer camp, where he's setting off a bunch of firecrackers in the girls' dormitory, causing all kinds of chaos, and it's his friend Billy who gets the blame for it. But Billy does not dob Cletus in. Snitches get stitches. So they become friends, because Cletus asks him, he's like, why didn't you tell her it was me? And of course he says, well, dang it, because we're friends, Cletus. Aw, just you wait.
But craps, Cletus, I was nice to you.
My point exactly, Billy-o. People think you have to pay back kindness, but in a world of chaos, you can do anything you want just 'cause you can. And you, Billy Man, are gonna be a prime example of that.
So Billy goes for his gun, and Carnage is like, nah, not happening. So he grabs the whole desk and throws it out the window, which luckily Spider-Man sees while he's swinging around trying to find any evidence of what's going on. So that was convenient, but actually, I'll allow it. He's got to find them somehow, so this is as good a way as any. So while Spidey is swinging to the rescue, we get some more expository story dialogue from Billy, telling Cletus about how he fell in debt in Vegas and the lumber mill is going under and all that kind of stuff. Maybe trying to give like little more sort of nuances to the characters, like, hey, this guy's innocent, but he's not that innocent. So I kind of appreciate that. And it's kind of fun that upon hearing about Billy's corruption, Cletus is actually disappointed that he's not as innocent a soul to kill as he was hoping.
I gotta tell you, Mr. Bill, I'm disappointed. I was hoping to shred a righteous citizen, but you're nothing but a wimp and a loser. This ain't gonna be nearly as much fun. Ah, heck! I'll live with it.
So before Billy can get shredded like newspaper, Spider-Man swings in to make the save. So while Spider-Man and Carnage are fighting, Billy decides to grab his briefcase full of money and make a quick exit. And honestly, I can't fault him. The first intelligent person in this comic book. So Billy is hightailing it while Peter fights Carnage, and there's little things about sort of symbiotes that never really get fleshed out or explained too much, like how they sort of work. Because Peter, he should know from Venom by now that they don't see the way that normal people see. Like symbiotes have kind of a 360-degree sense of vision, but Pete still tries to blind Carnage by splatting webbing in his face. And it's like, dude, that's literally never worked, ever. And then Carnage, because they're fighting in a lumber yard, it's kind of cool to use the surroundings a little bit. Carnage chucks him onto this sawmill with the blade coming towards him. Peter's trying to get away. And then again, a bit of an odd sort of thing. Pete manages to whip out a saw blade and slice the symbiote tendrils that's holding him. And Carnage is like, ow! Like, ow, that hurt. But, like, how did that hurt? It just like cut. I accept that like it cut the symbiote bit so Peter could get out, but like symbiotes are just a mess of goo. Like, cutting it's not gonna. That ain't gonna hurt. So Peter gets free, but then, dang it, a Night Watchman shows up, which allows Carnage the chance to kind of threaten him, and Pete's like, no! And the Watchman's like, huh? So then Peter jumps in to try and save him, Carnage knocks him to one side, and Pete falls into this wood resin thing that they were talking about, and he's basically got gloppy gloop all over him. But before Carnage can kill Spider-Man, Billy makes his babyface turn by coming back at the last minute to save the day, or at least, try to.
Leave him alone. I'm the one you want. Billy boy? I've lost a lot, Cleet, but you made me realize the most important thing I've lost is honor. I forgot what it meant to simply do the right thing, like I did years ago at our summer camp. If I'd stayed strong, maybe I wouldn't have fallen so far, but I can do the right thing now. Oh, brother, someone bring me a hanky. I'm gonna start bawling. Do what you must. I won't hate you. I know it's the monster you've become. Mr Cassidy would never hurt me.
And you know what? This is actually kind of a cool little twist for the ending. I gotta give David Michelinie credit. This story started out stupid, and that's why I remembered it being so stupid. And in many ways, it is stupid. But I kind of like what they did here. He makes the point, Billy does, of saying, Cletus Cassidy would never hurt me. So Carnage, being the dick that he is, takes down the symbiote to show Cletus. And he's like, y'all don't think Cletus Cassidy is gonna hurt you? I am specifically Cletus Cassidy. I am the one who's gonna kill you. At which point Billy's like, Spider-Man, now. So with the symbiote down and the very human Cletus Cassidy exposed, it only takes a right hand from Spider-Man and Carnage is down and out. Not sure why the symbiote becomes dormant when that happens, but I'll allow it. You gotta end the issue somehow. That's absolutely fine. I dig it. And it was a good ending. It was a nice little twist. And then we get this nice little wrap up between Peter and Billy where Billy says, hey, I actually have learned from this interaction, from what's happened here tonight, that I need to be the better person and change my ways. And honestly, ironically, Cletus Cassidy, he actually was the best friend I ever had. And in the epilogue, we see that Cletus Cassidy has been returned to a cell with bars that isn't actually airtight, secure. The poor vault guardsman standing outside thinking, well, he's definitely secure in there as long as those electrical high voltage things don't malfunction. Boy, I hope they don't. Jeez, that would suck. Why am I holding a Subway sandwich in my hand? Should have been given a gun. Then again, this Subway would probably be just as useful. This doesn't work when I'm wearing a vault guardsman mask. This is why I don't improv on this show. So yeah, Carnage is back in prison, in again, a ridiculously easily escapable prison, as long as they don't have a power cut. Come on. But then we also see, it has a nice little coda to this, we see the secretary from the lumber yard. She finds a letter from Billy saying that he's retired, he's quit from his job. He's going to go to Gamblers Anonymous to get himself straight, and Spider-Man can once again swing off into the sunset. And folks, that was possibly not the worst Carnage story ever told. I got turned around on this while talking about it, because it starts off so stupid with so many of the worst cliches of the mid-90s. I was like, oh, this story's terrible. But then when we actually get to the more human interaction aspects of Cletus and Billy and all that kind of thing, it does a lot to redeem itself, just like Billy does. So honestly, I'm really torn on this story. The artwork I really like. Classic, cartoony, but serious too, 90s comic book style. I really dig that. David Michelinie could be very hit and miss, but he's certainly a staple of 90s Spider-Man, and he did do a lot of good stuff. So this is very much a comic of two halves. Starts ultra stupid, but actually, I think it finishes rather well, and I give props to that. And folks, that was As Told by Toys, Carnage is back. Arguably though, it is the beginning of the end for Carnage being a special character. He'd had 2 stories before then, the first and then the sequel Maximum Carnage, and he was always a big deal, but this was the first time Carnage has escaped and been a one and done, bish bash bosh, fight, back in prison type character. So it seems that he's gone from being a main eventer to a mid-carder, to use wrestling terms, which actually I think works really well. He's had his main event run, and now he's firmly in the mid-card, and it would be a long time before Carnage would be elevated to main event status again. But still, this was a fun little time capsule, and it was a good time to look back on it. So folks, thanks very much for watching. If you want to nominate a story for As Told by Toys, then you can do by going over to patreon.com/displaying model behavior. Sign up to one of the tiers on there, shoot me a message, and I will do your story as told by Toys. But until next time, folks, keep displaying model behavior.
You know, this is where someone would normally come over and tell y'all to go over to Patreon. But I believe in chaos, so that's why I'm not gonna do that. In fact, I'm gonna tell you not to sign up to the Patreon at www.patreon.com/display and model behavior. Just like these fellas over here did. Yeah, don't go doing that. Nah, cause then you won't want to be watching all the exclusive videos. Yeah, that's right. And also, definitely don't go over to teespring.com. Check the link in the description below. Definitely don't check the link in the description below and get yourself a mild behavior t-shirt. Nah, be all chaos instead. Yeah, chaos, give them chaos. Oh, God, this is tiring.
Cup of coffee. Big time coffee.